Welcome to the Money Down, the Believe Network, presented by FanDuel, #1 sports book, man. Back again with another episode. We're going to start with the good news with the podcast today. We'll start with the good news before we get to some of the bad news, some of the other teams. The Pats continue their winning streak against the Giants, the depleted Giants, the young Giants. We're smacking Jackson Dart, too. We was taking it to him, man. He's a young, fearless, young quarterback and doesn't like to slide and all that good stuff. We got a couple shots on him, but I like the way the defense was playing. You know, the other night they were physical on Monday night. They're flying around, making hits, a little bit different than the previous week against the Cincinnati Bengals. So I thought it was a pretty impressive performance because I thought this game was going to be somewhat of a trap for him because Jackson Dart and that team is just a little bit of a wild card. You never know what you're going to get. They play hard. They play a little bit different than most teams, and they find themselves in games in the fourth quarter sometimes. So I was a little worried, but we came out with the right mindset. Then we went up like 17-0. Didn't really do too much in the second half, but we were able to close it out. So I thought it was good to see. It's just, once again, you're winning the games you're supposed to win. So I thought it was a really good performance by the Pats. I don't know what's y'all thoughts on that game, how they continue to win this streak. I know they maybe not playing the strongest opponents, but winning in the NFL. I mean,
hey, we talk about it, man. It's hard to win in the NFL, man. It's hard to go in and win, on a Thursday, a Sunday, or a Monday, to win week in and week out. So, what they're doing is working. And, I mean, they are right now the #1 team in the NFL right now, based on record and and how they've been looking. Defense is flying around, smacking folk. Drake May playing out of his mind right now, so definitely gotta take the hats off to them because coordinators are dialing it up. It looks good. It looks clean. Again, back to your point, you ain't really played nobody yet. You said a depleted Giants team. So
I saw a tweet today that said the top 5 projected teams in the draft have all played the Pats. The teams with the 5 worst record in the league have all played the Pats this year.
But I will say this: a team that just beat the Rams, we beat. So what you gotta say about that? What you got to say about that, man?
Y'all probably beat them when they were banged up and depleted too, earlier in the season.
Here we go.
They ain't even hit their mid-season stride yet.
Excuses are flying.
Before we let Warren pop off about the Rams, I got to say, Pat's special teams have still been freaking phenomenal. Marcus Jones, that was one incredible punt return. He's a special returner, has been ever since he came out of Houston. He was a guy that I remember I just loved in college and, thought he was definitely going to be an impact returner in the league. And he's proven to be. I think you could make an argument that he's the best returner in the league right now, if top 2 or 3 at worst, probably. And I think when you get that sort of impact from special teams with an offense that we already know can hit the deep ball, it's incredible how well Drake throws the deep ball week in and week out. Most accurate deep ball passer in the entire league. Kayshon Boutte coming back. He's, looking close to 100% again. He brings a huge downfield threat to that team. And like you said, the defense is playing well. They're playing well in all 3 phases. And it's hard to find a weakness right now. We thought the offensive line might struggle with a couple guys out this past week against very strong Giants front, but they held up very well, I thought, in this game. And you just got to tip your cap to what the Pats are doing right now.
Yeah, I got to give him a ton of credit, man. It really starts with Drake. First and foremost, Josh, doing a great game plan as well on the offensive side of the ball with some of the injuries at the offensive line, draws. Drake getting the ball out of his hands quickly, not allowing those guys to be in some tough, precarious situations to let that pass rush really get to the quarterback. So I think they've done an excellent job coaching. The players have done their job. It's just been a real group effort, and that's what you really like to see. But with that, we'll turn the page to those LA Rams. We had somebody on here just last week that was talking cash money about his team and how they're not really fazed by their opponents. They don't get worried week in and week out. So I'll let him talk about what happened this past Sunday.
Yeah, man, I think the Bears played a great game, bro. I think, we knew what the Eagles were going to bring.
We're talking about the Rams. We're not talking about the Bears and the Eagles. We're talking about the L.A. Rams.
Hey, it was one of them games where, again, we started off with turnovers, and it happens to you. You throw your interception. Hey, it every dog has his day. But hey, we all know that it's these type of losses, and I'm gonna say we lost it. It was on us, but it's these type of losses that turn up the monster the rest of the season, right? That was one of them reality checks. Like, okay, it ain't smooth sailing the rest of the season. A reality check for me. We not going undefeated after. we're not gonna win out the rest of the games, right? Well, we're not gonna, because we're gonna win out now, leading into all the way up to the Super Bowl. But what I'm saying is, this is just one of those losses. It's just a reality check, right? It's like, you're playing really good ball. You can't sleep on any team in the NFL. We talk about how hard it is to win. Again, heck yeah, I'm going to talk my gas next week too. Hey, right? I'm going to talk my gas. But, again, this is just one of them games where Carolina came out and they smacked us in the mouth. Carolina's not a bad team, right? They need a couple pieces here and there. There's a little bit of inconsistency throughout the season. You said what?
They're a good team.
They're a very good. I ain't gonna say very good. They're a good team, right? And they have games where, like, again, Bryce Young played out of his mind. Haven't really seen that all season, right? So, they start getting consistent. They start putting them wins together throughout the season, and heck, they in the conversation of leading the AFC, right? I think they're top their division right now, if I'm not mistaken. They're leading the division.
They might be.
They're one game back of the Bucks.
They're one game back from the Bucks.
One game back in the loss column. I think the Bucks still might have a bye or something like that. But yeah, or they might have a bye, something like that.
But if they continue to string it together and we start seeing some consistency from them, I wouldn't be surprised if they're leading that division come the end of the season.
Well, especially with how injured the Bucks are right now, just all over the place, And I think that Baker's been taking some unnecessary hits. We've seen the receiver core be really depleted, and they've had some really standout performances from guys, with rookies. You especially look at Emeka Egbuka. He's done really well, but he sort of tailed off here in the second half of the season. He hit the rookie wall, right? We see a lot of guys do that, and it's tough to sustain through 18 weeks of the regular season, plus then go into the playoffs, especially for some of the young guys. So I think that the Panthers. I think Dave Canales has done it. You got to commend the job that this guy has done. And said, hey, he stuck with it and said, Bryce is going to be our guy. And, they had some rough Bryce performances, but Bryce is super efficient in this one. And, they've definitely been able to build that offense around his strengths, right? He's a really good point guard, gets the ball out quickly. He's a very accurate passer. Obviously, smallest quarterback in the league, right? He's going to have some deficiencies there. But I think that, one of the things that really impressed me with this is that they were able to really stay balanced with the run game and the pass game. I love their two-headed attack now that Chuba Hubbard is 100% healthy. We've seen what Rico Dowdle can do, going for 200 or basically 200 in back-to-back games earlier this year. I think that they can, beat you in multiple ways. And that's always going to be something that is going to be hard to defend late in the season.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I like that Panthers football team. I thought it was impressive what that defense was able to do against Brock Purdy. I know they lost the game, but what they did against Brock Purdy, just the previous week, getting like 3 interceptions on them in the first half. That defense is pretty good. I mean, J.C. Horn's
Derrick Brown's a beast.
Yeah, Derrick Brown's a beast. J.C. Horn's having like one of those all-pro type years this season, and then Bryce Young he's probably playing his best football this year. You got Xavier Legette actually waking up. You got your young receiver, Ted McMillan out there. He's playing well. And you got 2 backs that can do some damage to take some pressure off the quarterback. So I think that team's sitting in a pretty good spot. A lot of young talent. I mean, I know we have a friend that's a big Panthers fan. He always try to talk about a little bit. Yeah, shout out to him. I mean, they actually looking pretty decent this year, man. I think the future actually does look bright in Carolina. So, I mean, I don't think it's a bad win from you guys. And like I said, it's the NFL. I know Warren doesn't think his team will ever lose. When they step out of football.
I never said that.
Yes, you did.
I don't think we should lose, but even at the beginning of the season, I said we was going to lose a couple of games. I said a couple of games. Now, these are a couple of games. Now watch what happens. There we go.
We'll definitely see when it comes to that. But we had another team in the NFL, one of the top-tier teams. They fell to the Chicago Bears, who is actually now the top team in the NFC, which is a pretty pleasant surprise. We all thought maybe getting Ben Johnson as the head coach will make them a little bit better, but sitting here going to week 14 in the NFL, we probably didn't think they'd be sitting at the number 1 team in the NFC. So what's y'all thoughts on what went down on Black Friday? I know LG didn't think this was going to happen. He's not on right now, but he probably didn't think the Bears going to go into Philly, get that done. I said it was going to be tough on him. I said it'd be a good football game. But Chicago's playing some good ball. They got two of like their better players back, Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson. The defense was already playing good without two really good football players. So
yeah.
I think this team is really dangerous. I mean, they got weapons all around, on offense, defense, and I still don't even think Caleb's playing his best. So it's like
he was under 50% in this game.
Yeah. So they can be so much better.
That run game, and we saw how creative he was as an offensive coordinator in Detroit with the run game when he had Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. And well, now look what they're doing with DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. Like, both those guys going for over 125 yards and a score in a game. That's the first time that's happened in a long time for two guys on the same team to put up those numbers in the same game. And, the Bears offensive line was a big question mark coming into the season, right? You could say on offense, that was their biggest question mark. And against a Philadelphia front that we know is very, very talented, they were able to manhandle them. I mean,
push them around.
281 yards on the ground. Like, if you're rushing for 280, you're going to win 9 times out of 10. Like, and so if you're able to do that and you're able to like really get these guys in sync, I'm thoroughly impressed with what Ben Johnson is doing. I'm thoroughly impressed with his ability to rip his shirt off and give a heck of a speech game. I don't know if you guys saw this. I think, up in Chicago, I forget what restaurant it was. They said if Ben Johnson takes his shirt off after the game, like people were getting like discounts or free food or something like that.
Free hot dogs or something like
that. Free
hot
dogs. That's what it was. So I gotta give a shout out to them, and I think that the dysfunction in Philly runs deep, but also Philadelphia and Philadelphia fans love that dysfunction. They live for that dysfunction. Like, they didn't know what to do with a winner. They don't know what to do with that happiness. They need that angst and that anger, and we'll see if that team turns around here. We know they have the talent to do it, but the Philly offensive line. Losing Lane Johnson has been honestly the biggest issue for them. You could argue he's the best player on their team, regardless of position. He's been an All-Pro for multiple seasons, and they're just not able to get the same push up front without him. And without some of the other pieces that they have there, and just the run game is not there. And they could lean on that every single game last year, right? You knew that Saquon was going to go for $120 and a score. And now it just feels like their run game has completely stagnated. I mean, you look in this game. I mean, they only ran the ball 17 times. I don't even know what they're doing on offense.
Yeah.
I don't think they know what they're doing, man. I think that's the biggest issue, that they can't run the football. I think that's what has made them so dangerous over the last several years. Obviously, they have great weapons on the outside and everything, but the pressure that they put on you as far as trying to stop that run game, that's what allowed for that pass game to be so consistent, allow them to be even more explosive. So now that run game is almost eliminated, although they have a great back there, it makes it tough on your quarterback. It makes it tough on any quarterback. I mean, I still think Jalen Hurts is good, but it makes it way tougher for him to try and throw the ball consistently.
And we've seen this since the beginning of the season, right? It's what is their identity, right? After losing Lane Johnson, not being able to get the push up front, Saquon not being able to, work as he's normally used to doing, or you're used to seeing out of them, right? So now it's up to Pachulo, right? Kevin Pachulo. It's up to him to figure out, like, okay, so how am I going to utilize the weapons I have? They have so many weapons on that team, and he just looks stuck. Like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, what's going to be the next play call? Because if the run game's not working, obviously we talk about the run game leading to the pass game, right? But I feel like the Eagles have so many weapons on that field. Like, you obviously Saquon's not getting it done Saquon's not getting it done. You're not getting it done on the ground as a whole unit, right? So what can we do to get Saquon out in space? What can we do to get one-on-one matchups with A.J. Brown downfield? Like, you have a ton of talent and potential in this offense to go in so many different directions, and I just don't feel like Pachulo's using it.
The crazy thing about this team, Warren, is that they have the highest 3-and-out percentage of anyone in the league by a huge margin. They're going 3-and-out all the time. And I mean, this game was a microcosm of it, right? Mm-hmm. Because of that, Chicago had the ball twice as much as Philadelphia did, right? The time possession was basically 40 minutes to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You're not going to win games that way, even if you are the greatest show on turf. Right, you can't just have your defense out there 40 minutes a game. They're gonna get baited up. They're gonna get tired, and you got to get at least something sustainable in offense.
Yeah, it's tough. I just wonder if they're gonna be able to get it right. I mean, I said, we're going into week 14. I always say, man, about halfway through the year, you kind of are what you are. I don't think you can just flip a switch and just turn it on. Like, okay, we're just going to turn into the Super Bowl champs that we were last year all of a sudden come playoff time. So it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out for the Philadelphia Eagles. And we also have another team. We got to talk about the Bills a little bit too. We got Perko on. We got to talk about the Bills. Bills got them a big dub this past weekend against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who they're trying to get things figured out over there. Josh Allen company, look really good. Man, they went out there, got them a big win. I still think this team's dangerous. They haven't played, probably their best football, throughout this season. But whenever you got 17 at quarterback, you got 4 running back, and all that, I know they're trying to figure out the whole receiver thing over there. Sign Brandon Cooks, sign my guy over there. So as long as their defense is able to play well and they got 17, that team is always going to have a chance. So what'd you see from your squad this past weekend?
I saw a team that went into Pittsburgh and set the rushing record for an opponent in that stadium without their 2 starting tackles. And to me, we know that Buffalo is built around the run, right? Joe Brady, what he wants to do is he wants to run, and then build off of that with Josh Allen and use Josh Allen in the run game as well. And of course, Josh scored another rushing TD this weekend. He now broke Cam Newton's record, most rushing TDs by a quarterback in their career. And he's still young. Like he's got 76 now. Like he could be well over 100. He broke OJ Simpson's team record for most rushing touchdown. I mean, the man is a beast. Secondly, though, their run defense has really started to step up. Getting Shaq Thompson in there has been really impactful for them. He's a bigger, thicker guy. They've been playing really, really light at linebacker with Milano and Bernard. He gives them a little bit more there. And then I said this before the season. I think by the end of the year, you're going to be talking about Christian Benford as a first-team All-Pro. He's got a scoop and score in this game and another huge pick on the next drive. I think that, he's got one side of the field locked down. He is a lockdown corner. With Pat Surtain being out, I think you can make a case that he's right there with, the top cornerbacks in the league. And you usually don't see that from someone wearing number 47. Not gonna lie. But hey, it doesn't matter what number is on the front, what number is on the front, name on the back of the chest. He's out there playing like he is a true number 1 corner. And Pittsburgh, man, that team is, really falling off. I think Aaron Rodgers is really starting to show his age. He looks like he don't want to be out there. He doesn't want to be hit. We know he's always got some serious injuries, and Pittsburgh's never had the greatest offensive line for a long time now, and that is starting to really rear its ugly head. And I think that, people are starting to play the blame game there. Aaron Rodgers is blaming the receivers. Mike Tomlin's blaming himself, and I think that, for Pittsburgh now, a couple weeks ago, they were just cruising away with this division, and now it feels like they could finish 3rd. Because the Bengals coming on strong. Joe Burrow's back. Joe Shiesty's looking good. The Ravens obviously are back to pretty much full strength. They're the betting favorite to win the division. And even though Pittsburgh is still sitting in first place in the standings, it feels like they are, reeling very much at this moment. So I think that, this was a very important win for Buffalo coming off of a pretty tough performance in the previous week. But and even you had some shaky first half. Josh Allen, he threw another pick, which is, his interceptions are way up. His interception rate is way up this year off of the MVP season last year. But, they were able to settle it down, get it going on the ground, and get the ball in the hand of James Cook. He's the best weapon they got, and you got to feed him. You got to feed the beast.
Yeah. Gotta feed 4. You brought up a topic that we have to discuss, man.
Oh, I got to shout out my guy Dave Edwards, left guard there in Buffalo. Dave,
Wisconsin
product. He's been on my podcast multiple times with us. He's a good friend of the show, and he's mauling. That dude was a high school quarterback.
It's crazy.
I forgot about that. Old linemen are some of the best athletes on the field, dog.
Yeah. That's a crazy transition.
Yeah.
Crazy transition, yeah.
But I'm not surprised because there's a couple of people that came through Wisconsin that started off at quarterbacks and left as a
usually
all-pro offensive lineman or tight end.
Like Owen Daniels was first-team All-American tight end at Wisconsin, but he was recruited as a quarterback, played quarterback as a freshman against Iowa, was dropped in there. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of crazy.
Didn't Maybe I could be wrong, but didn't like Ricky Wagner or somebody play quarterback in high school too?
Rick Wagner, I want to say, was it him or Tyler Mars or something like that, or like
somebody I can't remember. But yeah, we've done that a couple of times, and they turn out to be like all pro NFL offensive linemen somehow.
Because they're big. All these guys were the best. They were big, but they were the best athletes on their high school football team.
Yeah.
And so you want to have the ball, and especially in high school football, get the ball in the hand of your best athlete. And how are you going to get them the ball? A quarterback. They're going to touch the ball every play.
For sure.
They definitely made it happen. But we got to talk about Mike Tomlin, man. Is it time for the Steelers to move on from him after the season? We're hearing all different types of former players say different types of stuff. I've seen, James Harrison say Mike Tomlin is a good coach. I never thought he was a great coach. And you hear Ben Roethlisberger on his podcast say that it may be time. It's not. I really like Mike Tomlin. He's a good coach, but it may be good for both parties, the Steelers and Mike Tomlin. Maybe he's a fresh start. He's like, maybe he should put his name in the hat for the Penn State job. What he could do over there. What are y'all thoughts on?
Has Tomlin ever coached college? I don't know if he's ever coached. I know people were saying he should coach USC a couple years ago when it was open. I remember him saying, like, I've never coached college. Why would I go down and do that? And also, the man has never had a losing season in the NFL.
But it's similar to, again, and this is irrelevant. I mean, not irrelevant. This is kind of off topic, but it's similar to like the whole James Franklin thing, right? We talked about like, can he win the big game?
Yeah.
Right now, obviously, Mike Tomlin does have a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, but I kind of go. I'm on both sides, right? Like you have a winning coach who has never had a losing season, so he's won a Super Bowl. You know he can get you there. You don't. You're not suffering losing seasons. You're always competitive. But then on the other side of that, it's like, okay, well, when's the next Super Bowl you're going to be for us, right? That's the biggest goal at the end of the season. And if we haven't been there since not 2000. When was that? When they played the Cardinals.
The Cardinals was the Super Bowl was in 2009.
But was that Tomlin?
Yeah. That was Tomlin. Yeah, so his first season was 2007. The 2008 season was the year that they won the Super Bowl.
So it's been since then. So it's like, what's next? When are we going to get over the hump? Because I feel like they've always been a couple of pieces away on the offensive side of the ball.
But is that his fault or is that the GM's fault?
Depends on how much say he has.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it doesn't feel like he has a ton of player personnel say, and also I think that he's been hampered by some very questionable offensive coordinator choices. And that's whether he's the guy bringing the offensive coordinator,
I'm sure he has.
He's been there long enough. He's definitely got to have some say. And again, also you have a guy that's helped build a culture in Pittsburgh and a culture of winning, and sometimes changing that can be worse than better. So it's just like, it depends on who you're bringing in. You can't bring in somebody who's not as experienced as I mean, you can, don't get me wrong, but somebody
no one's going to be as experienced as him unless they bring in Bill Belichick. Like,
that's fair. But even from just like a culture setting standpoint, sometimes changing the culture in the locker room changes it for a very long time, and you don't get those winning seasons that you've been having. It can really change your organization in a way that's more detrimental than it does to help. It's what I'm getting to. So you got to be really strategic about it.
Yeah, he's kind of in that same boat as a John Harbaugh. I mean, John had him a Super Bowl, but it's kind of been a minute. You know what I mean? There has a team that he's coached that is extremely competitive every year. They're going to be really good. They're going to be tough to beat. But it's been a while since they've actually got to that game, and it's hard. It's hard to just say you're going to go out there and get a new coach and he's going to be able to keep those. You're going to have a winning record every year. You're going to be in contention every year and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So the other crazy thing about the Steelers, they've had 3 coaches in franchise history.
Yeah. A lot of loyalty there.
And so it would shock me if they're definitely not doing anything in season. They're not going to fire him.
No, definitely not.
They can still win. They can still win the division.
They can still win the division. They can still make the playoffs. I've been out on Aaron Rodgers for a couple of years. personally. After that last season in Green Bay where you saw him really start to fall off statistically, I think there were real indications. I know some people were talking about, last year, his second year with the Jets, he was looking up. But even then, if you look at sort of some of the more advanced metrics, which I know people don't necessarily love, like it was all just quick. He was not throwing the ball downfield really at all. And now without his safety net of Devontae Adams, who he has basically a mind meld with, he's just not on the same page as his receivers.
Yeah,
I would like to see what they would. I would like to see first off before they end up. And again, not saying that they're getting there before they even get to the moving on aspect. We got to remember the last few years that they've had. It's Aaron Rodgers. You made a switch from Justin Fields, and then before that was Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky. So it's like draft.
Don't forget Russell Wilson.
Oh, and Russ. Don't get me wrong. No. Hey, shouts out to my dog Russ. Russ, that's my dog. But get him a fresh quarterback, somebody that has some promising talent, somebody that he can mold in the offense. Get him a true number 2 receiver. See how that works because you have 2 really good running backs in the backfield. You have a pretty decent line up front. I feel like you just need a couple of pieces, and it starts with the quarterback. You got a really good Aaron Rodgers. Don't get me wrong, but Aaron Rodgers at the end of his career, right? He's on 1-year deals, 2-year deals, things like that, and he's not the Aaron Rodgers that we're used to seeing. So
Aaron Rodgers is older than me, dog.
But that's what I'm saying. Give him a young, fresh quarterback, somebody that he can work with, mold, and give him a number 2.
They're too good to draft a quarterback high. Right, they are never in position. You're always drafting late teens,
trade something,
20th.
Trade up.
No one's but no one's trading that much.
This ain't the year to do it. Yeah, but here's the thing. One thing that we know about Pittsburgh is that they're always going to have an amazing defense, and they always have great depth. Like there's always a next man up mentality. So you have guys that you can use to trade up as well as your picks in order to get you in position to get yourself a quarterback. You have the
60 years of evidence under the Rooney family that is not what they do. That is not
understandable.
Operate. So like asking them to do that is, old rich people tend not to change their ways.
But here's the thing. Again, we're speculating, and these are opinions and whatnot. But it's one of those things that you're gonna need to do in order to see change. Because
I'm not disagreeing with you.
You're talking about getting rid of the head coach that's built a culture there and all that stuff without allowing him to work with the weapons that he's had. I mean, look at what Big Ben was able to do in his prime. Get him a quarterback in his prime, things like that. So get him the weapons that he needs to make that offense complete, as we have seen in the past. When you got an offense and a defense working, all 3 phases, when you got that working together, they were able to win. And they're continuing to win, but they were able to win that big game. So get them back to that before you talk about getting rid of Mike Tomlin. He's one of the greatest coaches in the league right now.
One of my favorite anecdotes about Mike Tomlin was that Pittsburgh wasn't his first choice. He wanted to go to Miami because the Dolphins job was open that same year, before the 2007 season. The Miami people said he was too hip hop. That was the exact quote that they used. I don't know if you ever met Mike Tomlin or listened to Mike Tomlin or do anything about Mike Tomlin. That man is not what you would call hip hop in the way that they were speaking about it. They hired Cam Cameron and went 1-15 that year.
Yeah, Miami just hasn't been able to get right, man. Unfortunately,
Miami hasn't won a playoff game in I think the century.
Yes, it's been
that's wild. It's been a long time.
A long time. We'll see what happens when it comes to Mike. I mean, I don't think they should get rid of him, but it's definitely some changes got to be made with the way they're operating because it's just been more of the same. They got to try and find a way to get over that hump. We'll turn the page over to this upcoming week of football. Tomorrow, as we're recording, we have Thursday night football. You got Cowboys versus Lions, should be a good game. You got this weekend Steelers versus Ravens, 2 of the teams we just kind of talked about. Colts versus Jags, Titans versus Browns. You got Cam Ward versus Shador. Got Packers versus Bears. We got Texans versus Chiefs. We got Eagles versus Chargers. A lot of good football games this upcoming weekend. Is there any of those that y'all are looking forward to watch?
Packers and Bears, dog. I think that's going to be that's definitely going to be the game of the weekend, in my opinion. You got 2 teams fighting for number 1 in the division. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think outside of the NFC West, that's the best division in football right now, right? You got the Packers, you got the Bears, and you got the Lions, and they're all duking it out for who's going to have first at the end of the end of the regular season, right? So that's going to be a tough one. They play each other twice too to end the season because they haven't played each other yet. So they got this week, and then they see each other again in 2 weeks. So that's going to be a hot game. That's going to be a very hot game.
Well, it's going to be cold, actually. It's going to be freezing.
You know what I meant, though. You know what I meant. You know what I meant. And also, if I'm not mistaken, the Bears, they went 1-1 last season, right?
Yeah, they won the last season here against the Packers, something like that.
Something like that. But it's a good opportunity for Ben Johnson to, in this first year, you beat the Packers twice. Oh my gosh, Chicago's gonna love you forever.
To me, I'm going to stay in that same division. That Lions-Cowboys game is, I think, a banger of a Thursday night game because the Lions have hit some, rocky terrain here, right? They've had a couple tough losses. It doesn't look like the offense is entirely clicking like it needs to be. And the Cowboys are just completely ascendant right now. It feels like their passing attack cannot be stopped. And I'm curious just to see, what Dan Campbell's going to do as he's still calling plays, and how is he going to attack a Cowboys defense that we know has been not great, but the additions of Quinn and Williams and some of the other moves that they have made in season, they've done big things. Like they were really impressive against the Chiefs there on Thanksgiving. And I think that this game is going to go a long way to determining a potential playoff spot, whether that, the 6-7 seed and getting into all these tiebreakers, right? Once you talk about when you're comparing teams right at the end of the season, same thing can be said about Chiefs Texans. I mean,
that's the one I'm looking forward to.
Right, that is going to be, the Chiefs lose this one.
This is do or die for them.
It's do or die, and that because that seventh spot in the AFC might come down to those two teams, Chiefs and Texans, and the winner of this game will have the tiebreaker.
Yeah, that's the game I'm looking forward to. Two teams trying to fight their way to get into the playoffs. Texans, that might be one of my most favorite defenses to watch week in and week out. They really go out there and hunt. That pass rush, that secondary is really good. Got some very good linebackers as well. Get C.J. Stroud back and everything. For them to go up against the Kansas City Chiefs that's trying to fight their way to get in playoff, I mean, it's going to be tough. Against Patrick Mahomes, can never count that dude out. When that team is on, they're on. But they just really been very on and off this whole entire season. So it's going to be interesting to see what Kansas City Chiefs offense shows up and what Kansas City Chiefs defense shows up. Because I know what Texans defense is going to show up. So
for sure.
The Kansas City Chiefs offense is going to have to be at their best. The offensive line, they better be ready to play because DeMeco Ryans going to have his team ready to go. I'm just saying, this Texans team, nobody wants to see them if they get that 7th seed. In the playoffs,
at all, bro. and you know what though? It's gonna be. I think the game is gonna be kind of chippy because if we remember last year, Kansas City beat them. I think they were in Houston. Kansas City beat them, and there was a few roughing the passer penalties called that were very questionable. Yeah. So knowing that defense about to be humming come this weekend, 1,000%.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Texans, for my money, have the best defense in the NFL. Oh, yeah. Those guys, I watched them play Buffalo, and Buffalo with a full-strength offensive line, and they bullied them. Like, Will Anderson, second season, dude, that guy is quickly becoming one of the elite pass rushers in the NFL, but he holds up really well against the run too, right? Their secondary is just lights out. Derek Stingley, another one of those truly elite corners. Kamari Lassiter is incredible, and just like they got dudes everywhere. And I think if you want to give one of their units a weakness, it's the linebackers, but they're actually not asked to do that much because the secondary is so good in coverage, and the front is so good in not only against the pass but against the run too. Yeah. They just kind of have to clean up the mess. And I think that we've seen yet again that DeMeco Ryans is a truly elite defensive mind. In the game, and they were able to weather the storm without C.J. Stroud. Davis Mills played really well. Davis Mills probably played himself into a place where he could get a starting job somewhere.
Because the Niners,
the Steelers.
That's right here. Yeah, Steelers for real. That's a team.
Yeah,
Niners. Now, but last but not least, before we wrap, man.
Wait. We're not talking about Bills Bengals. Like,
my bad.
Ain't nobody trying to watch that.
My bad.
you're not trying to watch Joe Burrow try to get the Bengals back to the playoffs. Bengals still got a shot.
I'm just messing with you, Perk.
The Bengals got a shot. You know, I think this is a sneaky tough game. Bengals have had the Bills number over the past couple seasons. You know, they beat the Bills in the playoffs a couple years back. You know, they beat them. I think they beat them the last two regular season matchups. This is a really big one for my beloved Buffalo Bills. And you know, Bengals defense turning around a little bit, and they're going to get T. Higgins back for this game. It looks like. I think it could be a very high scoring affair in Buffalo.
No, it's going to be a good football game. This Bengals team, no matter what their record is, we know what they can do offensively. It's just their defense. You never know what defense is going to show up. They played well against the Patriots just a couple weeks ago. So, and their offense played pretty well. You know, without Joe Burrow, with Joe Flacco back there, without Jamar Chase. So, got your starting quarterback back. We always know this matchup between them and Buffalo is always pretty good. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I mean, I know Joe
Anytime you
Burrow's
have two of the best four quarterbacks in the league on the field at the same time, it's going to be a good match.
And not to mention, obviously, Pat's on bye week this week. They turn around and play Buffalo next week.
Yeah, so, two tough ones. Yeah, two tough ones. So, it's going to get real interesting, man. But before we wrap, man, as we're coming to kind of our final weeks of 2025, it's crazy. It's already about to be 2026 in a couple weeks. What have y'all been listening to most, or what artists have y'all been listening to most in 2025, man? What's been in y'all headphones?
It's Spotify Wrapped Week. This is how this came up. I just got one question for you, Warren. How you doing, Big X?
I'm doing well, not great, but good. Can't lie no more than I should. Yeah.
Box in the hood, yes, sir. That is correct. For me, my number one is Big X. I can't get enough Big X. The Midnight, they are my favorite band. If you guys don't know the Midnight, get on to the Midnight. They got bangers after bangers. That Mexican OT, I just absolutely freaking love this guy. Tyler Childers, Kentucky artist, and The Strike, another synthwave. Proto synthwave, you know, maybe a little bit more like pop rock out of LA, but yeah, Big X was, I think, the top 25 songs on my play for my most played this year were all Big X songs. So it's been a very heavy rotation here.
Turn up, then Perk. Turn up. For me, I definitely been listening to a lot of Gunna this year for sure. His album, the last one, that's been in my earphones for all year long. Definitely, Rod Wave is definitely always in there. I've kind of toned back a little bit my Rod Wave. It was a couple years ago. That's probably all I listened to for a little while.
You're less in your feelings. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, a little less in my feelings over the last year and a half. And what else? I listened to some Big X to plug. I have listened to that. And then So's put me on that Mariah the Scientist. Her album pretty good, man. I've been listening to some Mariah the Scientist and been vibing. Even Justin Bieber, his new album's pretty good too. So
new album fire too now.
So I've been tapped into some Bieber as well.
For sure. Mine, it's a little all over the place because I've been playing a lot of music for my son. So my first one's for sure Big X the Plug. I've been on Big X the Plug heavy this year. But the second one, hey, I'm going to give them a shout out because they got some great music, but they're called Little Parade. Hey, it's some of the best children's music out there. They probably ain't heard of them, but they actually go to my church and they've been putting music out on Spotify and Apple Music. And I just want to plug them because it's incredible. And
we'll drop that in the show notes for sure.
For sure. It's faith-based. It's for children. I mean, and dude, they're super creative, you know, their instruments and things like that they use are amazing. Voices are amazing. And just really, really great people. So I definitely want to throw that out there because my son, being 6 months, anytime you turn on their music, he's either laughing, smiling, giggling, all that stuff, or he's falling asleep. Like it's relaxing for him. So anytime we need to put him to, anytime we need to make sure he take a nap in the car or something like that, we put on some little parade. Or in the background or something, we ever do something, we put on a little parade, and he's picking it up and he loves it. So if y'all ever get a chance, little parade, trust me.
That's what's up. Gets the job done.
Yes,
Gets the
sir.
job done, man. We'll end on that note. That's a wrap for the Money Down podcast on the Believe Network, presented by FanDuel, #1 sports book. We appreciate y'all tuning in, tapping in with us. Keep liking, keep subscribing, keep showing love. We appreciate y'all.
For sure.